I thought I was overreacting. That's what I kept telling myself as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the doors and Opeth on repeat, trying not to lose my mind. But deep down I knew something was wrong. The phone call had come just hours before, right after I'd spent the night playing WoW Classic with my friends for what was supposed to be my low-key bachelor party. I was still riding that high when the phone rang. It was the husband of one of my fiance's bridesmaids. He said he'd seen something at Jane's bachelorette party, something that made him suspect she'd been sexual with a stripper. I'll call her Jane. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for one. From the very start, we had a deal breaker. Any sex or romantic kissing outside the relationship meant it was over. No exceptions, no second chances. We talked about it openly, agreed on it, and I thought we were solid. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew us. But that phone call shattered everything. The guy, let's call him Mark, kept insisting he was 100% sure. When I asked if it could be a misunderstanding, if maybe he misread a text or overheard something wrong, he just repeated himself. He was certain. I could hear the guilt in his voice. I think his wife, the bridesmaid, put him up to it. She felt bad and used him as a proxy so Jane wouldn't come after her when I confronted her. That's how I saw it anyway. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just shut down. I told Mark I needed time and hung up. Then I sat there on my couch, the glow of my monitor still on, the memory of laughing with my friends feeling like a cruel joke. I had to get out of my apartment. I grabbed a bag and drove to my parents' house. I told them I needed space, didn't explain why. My mom took one look at my face and didn't push. She just made me a cup of tea and left me alone in my old room. That night I barely slept. I kept going over every detail of the past few months. Jane and I had been good. Great, actually. She was excited about the wedding, planning everything down to the napkins. We talked every night, texted all day. Nothing seemed off. But now I was replaying her bachelorette party. She'd gone with 6 friends to a rented cabin a few hours away. They hired a male stripper, something she'd mentioned casually, and I'd laughed it off. I trusted her. I didn't think twice. Now I was thinking about it constantly. The next morning I called my cousin who had been at the party. She'd been friends with Jane since they were kids and she was also a bridesmaid. If anyone would know what actually happened, it was her. I called 5 times before she picked up. Her voice was weird, hesitant. She said she needed to see me in person. That was when everything changed. I drove to her place, my hands shaking on the wheel. When I got there, she sat me down in her kitchen. She looked like she hadn't slept either. Then she told me. Yes, something happened. She didn't see it, but she heard about it later. The stripper and Jane were alone in a guest room for about 20 minutes. Another bridesmaid walked in and saw them. According to my cousin, Jane was sitting on the edge of the bed. The stripper was standing in front of her and his pants were undone. The bridesmaid backed out quickly and didn't say anything at the time, but she told my cousin the next morning. And my cousin told me. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. I asked if it could have been something else. Maybe he was just adjusting his costume. Maybe she was tying her shoe. My cousin shook her head. The bridesmaid was sure. She said it looked like Jane had her hand on him. A handjob. That was the word Mark had danced around, but now it was clear. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there staring at my cousin's tile floor. I asked her why she didn't call me sooner. She said she was scared. Scared of ruining the wedding, scared of Jane, scared of being the one to destroy everything. I get it, but I was still angry. I went back to my parents' house and holed up. I deleted my earlier Reddit post because I was too messed up to handle the comments. I needed to completely separate myself from the situation for safety, mentally, emotionally. My mom brought me food I barely touched. My dad sat in the living room with me, just watching TV, not saying anything. I think he knew I needed him there. A week passed. I didn't answer Jane's calls or texts. I told her I needed time, but I didn't explain why. She kept messaging, saying she missed me, asking if everything was okay. I felt sick every time I saw her name pop up. Part of me still hoped it was all a misunderstanding. Maybe the bridesmaid was wrong. Maybe my cousin got it twisted. Maybe I was losing my mind over nothing. But then Jane's sister called me. She said Jane was a mess and that I needed to talk to her. I asked why. She said Jane had been crying for days and wouldn't tell her what was wrong. I said maybe she should tell you what happened at her bachelorette party. There was a long pause, then her sister asked what I meant. I told her what I'd heard. She went quiet, then said she'd talk to Jane and call me back. 2 hours later, Jane showed up at my parents' door. My mom let her in before I could stop her. She looked terrible, red eyes, no makeup, hair pulled back. She stood in the hallway, hands shaking, and said, "We need to talk, please, I love you. Whatever you think happened, it's not what it seems." I wanted to believe her, I really did, but I'd heard too much. I told her what my cousin had told me. She didn't deny it. She just started crying and said, "It was nothing, I was drunk. He just pulled out his thing and I don't know." I froze. I touched it for a second and then I left. "I'm so sorry." I didn't think it meant anything. It was just a dumb party thing. I stared at her. A dumb party thing, that's what she called it, our deal breaker. The one thing we agreed would end us, and she did it 4 months before our wedding. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just said, "I think you should leave." And she did. That was 2 weeks ago. I've canceled the wedding. I've told her family and mine. The deposits are gone, the venue is gone, the invitations have been pulled. Everyone is in shock. Her mother called me crying, asking if there was any way to fix it. I said no. My own mother told me she supported me, but I could tell she was heartbroken too. My dad just shook my hand and said, "That takes guts." But I don't feel brave, I feel hollow. I loved her, I thought I was going to marry her. And now I'm sitting in my old childhood bedroom at 26, picking at the seams of a future that never happened. I keep replaying that night, the phone call, the hours of darkness. The cousin's face, Jane's confession. And I keep asking myself, was there anything I could have done? Should I have been at that bachelorette party? Should I have said no to the stripper? But it's not my fault. She made the choice, she broke the deal, and now I have to live with that. I sat in that bedroom for another week eating cereal and watching my phone light up. Jane texted like clockwork, "I love you, please, we can fix this." Then she called crying. Then she sent a letter. Then her mom called my mom. It was a circus, but I held the line. I told my mom we had a deal, a clear, simple deal, and she broke it with a stranger in a cabin. I can't unsee that. I can't unhear her saying it was just a dumb party thing. That's not who I want to marry. My mom nodded, but I saw the tears in her eyes. She'd already bought a dress for the wedding. She'd been excited about grandkids. Now she was helping me pack my childhood stuff into boxes because I couldn't go back to my apartment. Too many memories. I moved in with my cousin for a while, the same one who told me the truth. We didn't talk about it much. She felt guilty. I told her she did the right thing. But every time I saw her, I remembered her face in that kitchen, and I felt sick all over again. A month later, I found out through the grapevine that Jane had gone to therapy. She told a mutual friend that she realized she has a problem with alcohol, blacking out, doing things she wouldn't normally do. I hope she gets help, I really do, but that doesn't change what happened, and I don't owe her my life to prove I forgive her. I'm 26 now, living in a spare room, working the same job, trying to figure out who I am without her. It's lonely, but it's honest. And honesty is the one thing I never got from her when it mattered most. I thought I'd heard the worst of it from that situation. Then my own family drama came back like a wave I'd been ignoring for years. My dad, the man who walked out when I was 13 and never looked back. He resurfaced 3 months ago and I've been trying to keep the walls up ever since. I remember the exact day he left. It was a Tuesday in April. I came home from school 8th grade and my mom was sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of wine. She never drank wine before noon. She said, "Your father has something to tell you." And he walked in looking like he'd been crying and said, "I'm moving out, I met someone else." That was it, no apology, no explanation about why he'd been sneaking around. Just, "I'm leaving." His new wife's name was Jane too, which always felt like a sick joke. She was the affair partner. He moved into her apartment the same week. At first, my little sister and I would visit every weekend. He tried, he really did. He took us to the movies, bought us ice cream, acted like nothing had changed. But I could see him checking his phone constantly. I could hear her voice in the background when he called. Then Jane got pregnant. Their son was born when I was 14. After that, the visits got thinner. He'd cancel on my recitals because the baby was sick. He'd miss my sister's dance competitions because they had a family thing on her side. He always said, "I need to prioritize my family." That word family cut deeper every time because I was his family too, but I wasn't part of the new one. When I was 16, Jane got a job offer 10 hours away. She wanted to move. My sister and I begged him not to go. I remember standing in his kitchen crying. I never cried in front of him and saying, "Please, Dad, don't leave us again." He just hugged me stiffly and said, "I'm sorry, son, I need to support my wife. She got a good opportunity. We'll still talk on the phone." We didn't. He left and I stopped answering his calls. I went no contact. I was done. My sister, who was 2 years younger, kept a relationship with him. She'd go visit for a week in the summer, come back with stories about their new house, their dog, their perfect little life. I'd sit in my room and feel a rage I couldn't name. 16 years passed. I didn't invite him to my high school graduation. I didn't invite him to college. He didn't even know I graduated. I blocked him on everything. He sent letters to my mom's house. I burned them. He showed up at my sister's wedding 3 years ago and I refused to go. My mom was heartbroken. She said, "He's your father, he's trying." But I couldn't see it that way. He had 17 years to try. He missed my entire life. Then 3 months ago, he and his wife and their son, my half-brother, who I've never met, moved back to our hometown. He started calling my sister, texting her, begging for a meeting. She told me he's really sorry, he's different now. He's been in therapy, his wife Jane cheated on him twice, and he stayed, he's a wreck. I didn't care. Part of me felt a dark satisfaction. Karma. He left us for her and she did the same to him. But the other part of me, the 16-year-old boy still crying in that kitchen, just wanted him to disappear. He showed up at my apartment last week. I was coming home from work and there he was standing by the mailbox. Grayer, thinner, with those same sad eyes. He said, "Son, please just give me 5 minutes. I know I messed up. I know I don't deserve anything, but I'm dying inside. I need to tell you I'm sorry." I stood there with my keys in my hand. A car drove by. A kid laughed somewhere. And I said, "You're sorry, great. You're sorry for destroying my childhood, for choosing a woman who cheated on you over me and my sister, for missing every single important moment of my life. And you think a 5-minute talk is going to fix that?" He started crying. Openly in the parking lot, he said, "I was weak. I was selfish. I loved you, but I didn't know how to be a dad after I left. I thought if I stayed with her, I could make it right, but I couldn't make anything right. I lost you, and now I have nothing." I wanted to punch him. I wanted to hug him. I did neither. I just said, "Please leave my address. Don't come here again. If I want to talk to you, I'll call you." And I walked inside and locked the door. I haven't called him. My sister keeps pressuring me to give him a chance. She said, "He's old, he's sick, he has heart problems. What if he dies and you never forgive him?" But that's the thing, I don't know if I can forgive him. I don't know if I even know who he is anymore. He's a stranger with my last name. I'm 33 now. I've built a life without him. I have friends, a job, a girlfriend who knows everything and doesn't push. I'm happy most days, and I don't need him to complete that. Maybe one day I'll sit down with him, maybe I'll say my piece, but not yet, not while I still feel that 16-year-old anger burning in my chest. After that thing with my dad, I thought family drama was over for me, but life has a way of throwing you curveballs when you least expect it. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend's little sister, Sam, she's 17, came to me with a problem. She works at a coffee shop near the mall. She's a sweet kid, kind of shy, very responsible. She told me she saw something she shouldn't have. She was working the afternoon shift, it was busy, and her coworkers pointed out a couple in the corner who were basically eating each other's faces. Like making out hard, tongue hands the works in a family coffee shop. The coworkers were joking about it, but Sam felt sick when she recognized the woman. It was her older sister, my girlfriend's sister. She's 24, engaged to a guy named Mike and supposed to get married in July. And here she was, all over some other guy in broad daylight. Sam didn't know what to do. She said she just cleaned tables and tried to avoid them. But when the man left, the sister came back in, maybe to use the bathroom or grab something she forgot. She saw Sam and her face went white. She grabbed Sam by the arm and hissed, "You didn't see anything, you understand? You tell anyone and I'll make your life hell." Sam is 17, she's scared of her own shadow. She said she mumbled, "I didn't see anything," but the sister didn't believe her. She kept texting Sam's phone, calling her, demanding she come over to talk. Then the sister called my girlfriend, her other sister, and said, "Sam saw me doing something with some creep at the coffee shop." She's lying, she's trying to ruin my wedding. Now my girlfriend is calling Sam, asking what's going on, and Sam is stuck in the middle, terrified to tell the truth because her sister is a bully, but also terrified to lie because she knows what she saw. She came to me because she didn't know who else to trust. She said, "I can't tell my mom will freak out. My sister will deny everything and then make my life miserable. What do I do?" I told her the truth. "You tell your girlfriend, my fiance, what you saw because her sister is about to marry a guy who deserves to know, and if you stay quiet, you're part of the cover-up. That's not fair to anyone." Sam looked at me with those scared eyes and said, "I don't want to ruin a wedding." I said, "Your sister did that, not you, you just saw it." She agreed to tell my girlfriend. I sat with her while she made the call. My girlfriend listened, went completely silent, then said, "I'll handle it. We'll see what happens next. But I know one thing, secrets always come out. They always finds a way." So Sam told my girlfriend. She called her that same night, voice shaking, and spilled everything. My girlfriend listened, went quiet, then said, "I'll handle it." I didn't hear much after that. But the next day, Sam called me in tears. Her sister had shown up at her school parking lot, screaming through the car window, called her a liar, a homewrecker, a jealous little bitch. She threatened to have her fired from the coffee shop. Sam was terrified. She said, "I can't go home. She knows where I live. She'll tell my mom some twisted version." I told her to stay at my place for a few hours. My girlfriend was at work, so I picked Sam up and we sat in my living room, ordering pizza and trying to figure out what to do. Sam kept saying, "I should have kept my mouth shut." I said, "No, you did the right thing. Your sister is the one who cheated." A day later, the fiance, Mike, found out. I don't know exactly how. Maybe my girlfriend told him, maybe someone else spilled. But suddenly, the wedding was off. Mike came to the coffee shop himself looking for Sam, not to yell, to thank her. He said, "I knew something was off. She was always late, always on her phone. You saved me from a huge mistake." Sam almost cried. She said, "I didn't want to ruin anything." Mike said, "You didn't." She did, but the sister didn't let it go. She started spreading rumors at Sam's school that Sam had made a pass at her fiance, that she was jealous and making things up. A few kids believed it. Sam got weird looks in the hallway. Her mom called, furious, demanding to know why Sam was meddling. Sam tried to explain, but her mom took the sister's side. "She's getting married. You had no right to interfere. Even if it was true, you should have come to me first." Sam was devastated. She said, "I thought I was helping. Now my own mom hates me." I told her, "You're 17. You did something brave. Most adults would have looked the other way. Your mom will come around. Give it time." A few weeks later, the sister moved out of town. I heard she's living with some guy, not the one from the coffee shop, someone new. Mike is engaged to someone else now. Sam and I still grab coffee sometimes. She's okay. She learned that doing the right thing doesn't always feel good, but it is right. And me, I'm still dealing with my own mess. Because while all that was happening, I still hadn't heard back from my cousin about Jane. The stripper thing, the bachelorette party, the handjob, it was still hanging over my head like a guillotine. I finally got through to my cousin the next afternoon. She answered on the seventh try, her voice all whispers and static. "Hey," I said, "I need to ask you something about Jane's party." Silence. Then, "I can't talk right now." "Why not? Is she there?" "No, but look, I don't want to be in the middle of this. I saw what happened, and I'm not going to lie for her. But I'm also not going to be the one who tells you. You need to ask Jane yourself." That was all I needed to hear. I hung up, sat on my parents' couch and stared at the wall. My mom came in with a cup of tea and asked if I was okay. I said I was fine, which was a lie, but I knew what I had to do. I drove to Jane's parents' house that evening. She was in the driveway, unloading groceries from her car. When she saw me, she smiled, then her face dropped. She knew something was wrong. I said, "We need to talk." She said, "Okay, let me put these inside." We sat on the front steps. The sun was setting and I could hear kids playing down the street. I told her what I'd heard, the handjob, the stripper. The bridesmaid's husband calling me, I said, I need you to tell me the truth. Did it happen? She didn't deny it. She cried. She said it was a mistake. She was drunk. She didn't even think of it as cheating because the guy was a stranger. She said, I love you. It meant nothing. I said, it meant everything. We had a boundary. You crossed it. The wedding is off. I moved out of our shared apartment. She's been texting me nonstop, sending voice messages, crying, begging. My mom says maybe I should forgive her, that people make mistakes, but I can't unsee it. Every time I think of her, I see someone else's hands on her. I don't know if I'll ever get past that. So yeah, that's where I am now. Single, 33, living with my parents again, trying to figure out who I am. Some days are okay. Others, I just put on the doors and stare at the ceiling, but I'm moving forward, one step at a time. That whole mess with Jane reminded me of another story I heard, about a dad who chose his new family over his kids. It hit different because it's not some drunk mistake at a party. It's years of quiet betrayal day after day, until one day you realize the man who was supposed to be your father is just a stranger who shares your blood. I'm 33 now. When I was 13, my dad had an affair and left my mom for a woman named Jane. I know, same name as my ex-fiance, weird coincidence. He moved in with Jane almost immediately. At first, me and my younger sister visited every weekend. And I'll give him credit, back then he tried. He took us to movies, helped with homework, showed up for school plays. I thought maybe we could still have a relationship even if he was a complete asshole for what he did to mom. But then Jane got pregnant. They had a son, my half-brother, and things started to slide. Our visits got pushed from every weekend to every other, then once a month. He started missing my recitals and my sister's competitions because he had to be home for the baby. I remember one time I had a big piano recital I'd practiced for months. He said he'd be there. I looked out into the audience and saw an empty seat. He texted later, sorry buddy, little Luke had a fever. I'll make it up to you. He never did. When I was 16, Jane got a new job offer in a city 10 hours away. They decided to move. Me and my sister begged him not to leave. I cried. I actually cried in front of him, which I hadn't done since I was a little kid. He just said, I need to prioritize my family. I said, we're your family. He said, my new family, you'll understand when you're older. I never understood. That was when everything changed. I went no contact right then. I told him, you are not my father anymore. He tried to call, but I blocked his number. He tried sending letters. I threw them away unread. My sister, she stayed in touch. She's softer than me, always tried to keep the peace. She'd visit him sometimes, even after the move. I resented her for it for a while, but I get it now. She needed a dad, even a shitty one. I didn't. Years passed. I graduated high school. He wasn't invited. College, he wasn't there. I built a career, made friends, dated. He'd try every few months to contact me through other relatives. Tell him I love him. Can you give him my number? I ignored it all. He even showed up at my apartment once, right after I turned 25. I saw him through the peephole and stayed dead silent until he left. Then about 3 months ago, everything changed. He and his new family moved back to our hometown, and he became relentless. Calls, emails, messages through my half-brother who's a teenager now and doesn't know me. My half-brother actually found me on social media and wrote, hi, I'm Luke. I know this is weird, but Dad really wants to see you. Can you please just talk to him once? I didn't respond, but the worst part. My sister's baby shower, she invited him. I found out and told her I wouldn't go. She cried, said he was trying, said I was being cruel. I said, he left us when I was 13. He doesn't get to waltz back in because he feels guilty. She went anyway. I didn't go. A few weeks later, I got a call from my mom. She said, you need to hear what happened to your father. I almost hung up. But she told me Jane had cheated on him, twice. One of the affairs was with her best friend's husband. It all came out when the husband confessed. Jane left my dad, took half their savings, and moved in with the affair partner. My dad's business was failing. He was living in a small rental alone with minimal contact from Luke because the kid blamed him for the divorce. My mom said, he's been calling me crying, saying he made a huge mistake. He wants to make things right with you and your sister. I didn't say anything for a long moment. Then I laughed, not a happy laugh, a bitter, cold laugh. I said, so his perfect new family fell apart and now he wants the old one back? No, that's not how it works. She said, he's your father. I said he stopped being my father the day he chose to move 10 hours away. He doesn't get a second chance just because his life fell apart. A few days later, he showed up at my workplace. I'm a manager at a retail store, nothing fancy. He walked in looking older and broken. His hair was gray, his eyes tired. He came up to the counter and said my name, soft and sad. I looked at him and said, you need to leave or I'll call security. He said, please, just 5 minutes. I know I messed up. I was a terrible father. I want to fix it. I said, you can't fix it. You had 18 years to be a father. You chose your new family. Now they're gone and you think you can come back to me. I'm not a backup plan. He started crying in the middle of my store. Customers were staring. I felt a little sorry for him, honestly. But then I thought of my empty seat at that recital, the missed birthdays, the way my sister cried when he left, and I hardened. I said goodbye. Then I turned and walked to the back room and let my coworkers handle him. He left. He's emailed me 3 times since. I haven't opened a single one. My sister tells me he's in therapy, that he's truly sorry. Maybe he is, but sorry doesn't give me back my childhood. Sorry doesn't make up for years of being second choice. I'm 33, I don't need a father anymore. I needed one when I was 13. I think about it sometimes when I can't sleep. About karma. His new wife cheated on him, his family fell apart, and now he's alone. I hope that dose of karma went down cold and slow. And me, I'm okay. I have a good job, a few close friends, a mom who never stopped fighting for us. I don't hate him, I just don't care. That's worse maybe. Hate at least means you still have some kind of connection. Indifference is the final door closing, so that's that. I'll keep moving forward, one step at a time. I'm 17 and I work at a coffee shop. It's a small place 3 blocks from my high school and I make minimum wage plus tips. I've been there about 6 months. I mostly work the closing shift, wiping down tables and making sure the espresso machine is off. My girlfriend's name is Sam and she's a year younger than me, sweet, always laughing. Her sister, her name is Emily. She's 24, engaged to a guy named Mark, and she's supposed to get married in July. I've met Emily a few times. She's always been nice to me, a little distant but nice. That day I was working the afternoon rush. The place was packed. I was on register, taking orders, trying to move the line. My coworker Dave nudged me and pointed toward the corner booth. Dude, look at those two, they need a room, this is a coffee shop. I glanced over. There was a couple really going at it, like full-on making out, hands in each other's hair, the whole thing. I laughed at first, but then I recognized the girl. It was Emily. My girlfriend's sister. My stomach dropped. She was kissing this guy like she was starving for air. He was Mark. I'd met Mark a few times. He's tall, clean-shaven, wears polo shirts. This guy had a beard and a leather jacket. They were so into each other they didn't see me. I turned away fast and kept working. I didn't know what to do. I thought maybe I saw. Maybe it was just someone who looked like her, but I knew it was her. The way she laughed, the way she tilted her head, it was her. They left after about 15 minutes. I pretended to clean tables to check the area. The booth was empty. I was still holding my spray bottle when she walked back in. She must have forgotten something, or maybe she needed the bathroom. She saw me, her eyes went wide. She walked straight up to me and grabbed my arm. She whispered, "You didn't see anything." I said, "I didn't see anything." But she knew, she could tell by my face. She started shaking. She said, "This is not what you think." I said, "I don't think anything." She said, "We need to talk, we're not done." Then she left. I finished my shift in a daze. When I got home, I got a text from Sam. "What's going on with you and my sister?" I froze. I typed back, "Nothing." "Why?" She said, "She's really upset. She says you saw something. I need you to come over." I said, "I can't. My parents won't let me out." She said, "They can drive me to your house. Sneak out, please." I said, "That's hard." She said, "Please." I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I'm 17. I don't want to be in the middle of some adult drama. I went downstairs and told my mom I was going to bed early. Then I sat on my bed and stared at my phone. Sam kept texting. Her sister was crying at her house saying I had to come. Sam said, "Just tell me what happened." "Did you see her cheating?" I didn't answer. The next day I went to school. Sam didn't talk to me. She just gave me a look. After school, her sister was waiting in the parking lot. She got out of her car and walked straight to me. She looked angry. She said, "Get in the car, we need to talk." I said, "No." She said, "Get in the car or I'll tell everyone that you tried to assault me." I couldn't believe it. She was threatening me. I got in the car. She drove to a park a few blocks away. Then she turned to me and said, "If you tell Mark, I will ruin your life. I'll tell Sam you tried to kiss me. I'll tell your parents. I'll call your school. Do you understand?" I said, "I wasn't going to tell anyone." She said, "Good. Because if you do, I'll make sure you regret it." Then she said, "You're a kid, you don't know what you saw." I wanted to say, "I saw you kissing another man, I know what I saw." But I kept my mouth shut. She dropped me off at my house. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell Sam. For a week, I kept it inside. Sam started ignoring me. She'd walk past me in the hall. She stopped replying to my texts. I figured her sister had told her some story. I didn't know what to do. Then one night Sam called me. She was crying. She said, "My sister confessed. She told me everything. She said she was with another guy at the coffee shop. She said she's been cheating on Mark for months. She begged me not to tell mom and dad. She threatened to hurt herself if I did. I don't know what to do." I told her, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to be in the middle. She threatened me too." Sam said, "I know, she told me. She said she'd make your life hell." I told her I'd never speak to her again if she did. I felt relief but also fear. Sam said, "I have to tell mom and I have to tell Mark, it's the right thing." I said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yes. He deserves to know before the wedding." She told her mom that night. Her mom called Emily. There was screaming, crying. The next day Sam texted me, "Mark knows, he's canceling the wedding. My sister is at a friend's house. She's not talking to any of us." I didn't hear from Emily again. A few weeks later I saw a post on Sam's Instagram, photos of Mark all cleared out of the house they shared. The wedding never happened. Sam and I broke up a month later. It wasn't about the drama. We just couldn't get past the stress. She said I reminded her of the night everything fell apart. I didn't blame her. I still work at that coffee shop. Sometimes I think about that day, how I just wanted to wipe tables and go home. And instead I ended up in the middle of a crumbling engagement, threatened by a grown woman and losing my girlfriend. All because I saw something I wasn't supposed to. I didn't ask for it, but that's how life works. You see something and you can't unsee it. You can't unknow it. I thought I was overreacting. That's what I kept telling myself when I got that phone call. It was late on a Saturday night and I was still buzzing from my own low-key celebration. I'd spent the evening at home with a few buddies, playing World of Warcraft Classic, drinking beer, and laughing about old raids. No strippers, no clubs, no crazy antics, just me, my friends, and a virtual dungeon. It was exactly the kind of night I wanted before the wedding, simple, honest, and full of the people who actually mattered. My fiance, I'll call her Jane, had her bachelorette party that same night. She went out with her bridesmaids to some fancy dinner and then a club downtown. I texted her around midnight, got a quick reply with a bunch of heart emojis and a photo of her holding a cocktail. I went to bed happy, thinking everything was perfect. Then the phone rang at 1:30 a.m. I almost didn't answer. It was a number I didn't recognize, but something made me pick up. A man's voice, low and hesitant. He said, "Hey, this is Mike. I'm married to one of the bridesmaids. We met at the engagement party a few months back." I remembered him, quiet guy, always hanging back at group events. He sounded shaken. He said, "Look, I don't know how to say this. I saw something tonight that I think you need to know about." My stomach tightened. I asked what he meant. He took a breath and said, "At the bachelorette party, there was a stripper, and I'm pretty sure Jane, well, she was alone with him in a side room for a while. The bridesmaids were joking about it afterward, and one of them said something about a handjob. I'm not trying to start drama, but I thought you deserved the truth." I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. I asked if he could be mistaken. He kept insisting he was 100% sure. He said his wife, the bridesmaid, had been acting guilty all night and she'd eventually confessed to him. He'd agreed to be the messenger because he didn't want to be complicit in hiding it. I hung up and just sat there in the dark. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I kept thinking, this can't be real. She wouldn't do that. We have a deal, no sex, no romantic kissing outside the relationship. That was established from day one. I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, putting on the doors and opeth, trying to drown out my own thoughts. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jane with someone else. I wanted to call her right then, but I knew I'd lose my mind. She was staying at her parents' house that night, and I didn't want to wake them up or make a scene without more information. So I waited until noon the next day. I called my cousin who had been at the bachelorette party and had known Jane since childhood. No answer. I called again, nothing. 5 times, 6 times. Each unanswered ring made my stomach churn harder. Red alarms were going off in my head. Finally, around 2 in the afternoon, my cousin texted me, "Can't talk right now. I'll call you later." That was it. No explanation, no everything's fine. Just a delay. I paced my apartment for an hour, then I called Jane. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright and cheerful. "Hey babe, how was your night?" I couldn't bring myself to accuse her over the phone. I just said I needed to see her in person. She sounded confused but agreed to come over that evening. While I waited, I called the bridesmaid's husband again. Mike picked up and said his wife was now freaking out. She told him more details. Jane and the stripper had gone into a private room for about 20 minutes. The stripper came out first, adjusting his pants. Jane came out a few minutes later, looking flushed. The bridesmaids had whispered about it, but nobody wanted to be the one to say anything. I asked Mike if he could be misinterpreting a text or an overheard conversation. He said no. He said his wife had actually seen it partially through a crack in the door. She was crying when she told him. I hung up and felt a wave of nausea. I'd already started planning the wedding. The venue was booked, the deposit paid. My parents had contributed part of their savings, and now this. Jane arrived at my apartment at 6. She walked in with a big smile and a bottle of wine, saying she wanted to hear all about my night. I didn't take the wine, I just said, "We need to talk." She sat down on the couch, still smiling, but her eyes shifted. She asked what was wrong. I told her I'd gotten a call from Mike. I said I knew about the stripper. I said I needed to know the truth. Her face went pale. She didn't deny it. She just started crying and said, "It wasn't what you think. I was drunk. He was touching me and I don't know. I swear nothing happened. I didn't have sex with him." I said, "Did you touch him?" She hesitated. That split second told me everything. She finally whispered, "I made a mistake. I'm so sorry." I didn't scream. I just sat there, feeling like I was outside my own body. I said, "We had a deal. No sex, no kissing, no anything. This was a hard boundary." She cried harder. She said she'd been pressured by the bridesmaids, that they'd all been drinking, that the stripper was really aggressive. She said it was only a few seconds, that she immediately regretted it and didn't tell me because she was terrified of losing me. I told her I needed space. She left, still crying. I locked the door and leaned against it. Over the next few days, I didn't answer her calls. I went to my parents' house and holed up in my childhood bedroom. My mom made me tea and didn't ask questions. My dad just nodded at me with that knowing look. I called my cousin again. This time she answered. She admitted she'd seen Jane go into the private room with the stripper. She said she'd tried to stop her, but Jane pushed her away. She said she was sorry she didn't tell me sooner. I asked why she didn't call me that night. She said she was scared of ruining the relationship. She said she hoped it was nothing. I sat in my parents' backyard that evening, watching the sunset, and thought about everything. The engagement rings, the wedding invitation still sitting on my desk, the future I'd imagined. I realized I couldn't trust her, not after this. The boundary was clear and she broke it. Even if it was just a handjob, even if she was drunk, even if she apologized, the fact that she did it at all and then tried to hide it was enough. 2 weeks later, I called her and told her I was canceling the wedding. She begged and pleaded. She said she'd do anything, go to therapy, never drink again. I said I couldn't. I said, "I'll never look at you the same way." She sent me a long email after that, blaming the bridesmaids, blaming the alcohol, blaming me for not being at the party to protect her. I deleted it without finishing. I lost the deposit on the venue. My parents were disappointed but supportive. My friends said I made the right call. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh. If a single mistake should cost a whole future. But then I remember that night, lying in bed with Opeth playing in my ears, staring at the ceiling, and I know I made the only choice I could live with. I haven't spoken to Jane since. Her sister tried to reach out, but I blocked her. I'm working on myself now, going to the gym, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected. The wedding was supposed to be in 3 months. Instead, I'm going to use that time to figure out who I am again. It's not easy. Some days I feel like I'll never trust anyone again, but I'd rather be alone than with someone who broke the one rule we agreed on. Trust is like a mirror. Once it's cracked, you can still see your reflection, but every time you look, you see the line where it broke. That story about broken trust hit close to home for me, but in a different way. My situation wasn't about a partner, it was about a parent, and it took me almost 20 years to finally feel like I was right. I was 13 when my dad left. He had an affair with a woman named Jane, and he moved out of our house and into hers. My mom was devastated. Me and my younger sister were wrecked. At first, he tried to be a good dad. We visited every weekend. He took us to movies, bought us stuff, but I never liked Jane. She was cold, always talked down to us like we were an inconvenience. Then Jane got pregnant, they had a son. Suddenly our weekend visits got cut short. He missed my recitals, my sister's competitions. He'd say, "Your brother has a doctor's appointment," or "Jane needs help with the baby." I was 15 and I knew what was happening. He was replacing us. When I was 16, Jane got a job offer 10 hours away. They decided to move. Me and my sister begged him not to leave. I remember standing in our living room crying, saying, "Please, Dad, don't go." He just looked at me and said, "I need to prioritize my family." And he walked out. That was the moment I stopped thinking of him as my dad. He moved and that was it. I went no contact. My sister kept talking to him, but I refused every call, every invitation to visit. When he came back to town to see her, I locked myself in my room. I didn't invite him to my high school graduation. I didn't invite him to my college graduation. I built a life without him. Years passed. I'm 33 now. I have a good job, a partner, friends. I avoided family events where he might show up. That meant missing my sister's wedding, missing baby showers. It hurt, but I couldn't stand seeing his face. 3 months ago, he and his family moved back to our hometown, and he started trying again, relentlessly. Messages, voicemails, emails, he'd say he wanted to reconcile, that he missed me, that he was sorry. I deleted everyone. Then his half-brother, the son he had with Jane, started reaching out. He was 19, didn't know me, but he kept saying our dad was broken, that he needed closure. I ignored him too. I thought I had it all handled. Then my sister called me last week. She was crying. She said, "You're not going to believe this." And she told me the whole thing. Jane had been cheating on my dad for years, not just once, twice, that anyone knew about. One of the affairs was with her best friend's husband. They swept it under the rug, made it hush-hush. But eventually the truth came out. My dad found out and he was devastated. He confronted her, she admitted everything, and now they're getting divorced. He lost his house, his savings, his whole prioritized family. My sister said he'd been calling her every night, sobbing, saying he wanted to go back in time, that he should never have left us. He told her I threw away my real family for a lie. I didn't feel sad when I heard that. I felt satisfaction, cold, hard satisfaction. I know that sounds petty, but after 20 years of being ignored, of being told I wasn't his priority, to see him finally get what he deserved, I didn't cry for him. I didn't pick up the phone. He sent me a long message a few days ago. He said he understood if I never wanted to see him again, but he hoped I'd give him one chance. He said he was a fool. I stared at the screen for a long time, then I typed, "You made your choice, live with it." I blocked him. Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold. I think it's a dish you don't need to serve at all, you just sit back and watch the karma cook itself. Speaking of seeing things you shouldn't, another story that stuck with me happened when I was 17. I worked at a coffee shop. It was a busy little place, always packed with customers. I was behind the counter making lattes when my coworker nudged me and nodded toward the corner booth. "Dude, look at those two," she said. "They need a room, this is a coffee shop." I looked over and my stomach dropped. It was my girlfriend's sister, Sam. She was 24, engaged to a guy named Derek, and their wedding was in July. I'd met her a few times. She was always nice to me but flirty in a way that made me uncomfortable. And now she was full-on making out with some guy who was definitely not Derek. They were all over each other, hands everywhere, completely oblivious. I ducked behind the espresso machine. I didn't want her to see me. I kept working, hoping they'd leave. After about 20 minutes they did. I came out to wipe down the tables, thinking I was safe. Then Sam walked back in. She'd forgotten something, or maybe she needed the bathroom. She saw me and froze. Her face went white. She walked over, grabbed my arm, and whispered, "You didn't see anything, okay?" I said, "I didn't see anything." But she knew I was lying. She left, but 30 minutes later my girlfriend texted me. "What's going on with you and my sister? She's freaking out." I said I didn't know. My girlfriend kept pushing. She says, "You saw something. Please come over. We need to talk." I told her my parents wouldn't let me leave. She said they'd drive to my house and I should sneak out. I said that was a bad idea. She kept texting, "Please, please." I didn't know what to do. I was 17, scared and stuck in the middle. My girlfriend and her sister were both pressuring me to stay quiet, but I knew Derek deserved to know the truth. I kept it to myself for a few days, hoping it would blow over. It didn't. Sam started calling me, begging me not to tell. She said it was a mistake, that she was drunk, that Derek would never believe me anyway. My girlfriend took her side. She said I was causing drama, that I should just forget it. I felt like I was going crazy. Finally, I called Derek. I didn't know his number, so I found him on Facebook. I sent him a message. Hey, I'm sorry to do this, but I saw Sam with another guy at my coffee shop. I thought you should know. He called me an hour later. He was calm, quiet. He asked for details. I told him everything. He thanked me and hung up. 2 days later, the wedding was called off. Sam was livid. She told my girlfriend I ruined her life. My girlfriend broke up with me, saying I should have minded my own business. I felt awful for a while. But then Derek sent me a message saying he'd confronted Sam. She'd admitted to the affair and he was grateful. He said I did the right thing. A few months later, I heard Sam had gotten back together with Derek. They ended up marrying a year later. I never found out if he knew she cheated again, but it wasn't my problem anymore. I learned something from that whole mess. The truth always comes out one way or another. You can try to hide it, you can try to silence the messenger, but the cracks always show. And when they do, it's better to be the one who told the truth than the one who covered it up. I'm 23 now. I don't work at that coffee shop anymore. I haven't talked to my ex-girlfriend or her sister in years. But every once in a while, I think about that night and I know I made the right call. Even if it cost me a relationship, I saved someone from marrying a lie. That's worth more than any apology. I remember the night my world fell apart. It started with a phone call. I was 26, engaged to Jane, and we had just had our separate bachelor and bachelorette parties. Mine was low-key. I stayed home with my friends playing World of Warcraft Classic, drinking beer, laughing. It was a great night. Then my phone rang around 11 p.m. It was Mark, one of the bridesmaids' husbands. He sounded uncomfortable. Hey man, I need to tell you something, he said. I saw something at Jane's party I think you need to know. I asked what he meant. He said Jane had been alone with the stripper in a side room. He said he was pretty sure she gave him a handjob. I asked if he could be wrong. He insisted he was 100% sure. My blood went cold. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there on the couch in my apartment, staring at the wall, the controller still in my hand. My friends were still playing, laughing in the background. I told them I wasn't feeling well and they left. I went to bed, but I didn't sleep. I just lay there looking at the ceiling, listening to the doors and Opeth, trying to piece together the night. Jane and I had a clear rule from the beginning: no sex, no romantic kissing, no physical intimacy with anyone else. It was a deal breaker. We both agreed, and now this. The next morning I called my cousin who had been at the party with Jane. She didn't answer the first 5 times, red flags everywhere. When she finally picked up, her voice was shaky. I asked her straight up, did anything happen with the stripper? She went quiet. Then she said, I don't know, I didn't see anything. But I could hear the lie in her voice. I pressed her. She started crying. She said she'd seen Jane and the stripper go into a room and close the door. She didn't want to say anything because she didn't want to ruin the engagement. I hung up. I drove to Jane's parents' house. I asked her to come outside. We sat in my car. I told her what Mark said and what my cousin confirmed. She denied it at first, said I was crazy, said Mark was lying, but her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. I kept asking, did you touch him? Did you give him a handjob? She finally broke. She said yes, but she said it didn't mean anything. It was just a stupid party thing. She was drunk. She loved me. She begged me not to call off the wedding. I didn't scream. I just said, we're done. I got out of the car and walked home. I called my parents and told them the wedding was canceled. I deleted our joint accounts. I blocked her number. I didn't answer any of her calls or texts. That was 3 months ago. I've been in therapy. I still get angry sometimes, but mostly I feel relieved. I dodged a bullet. If she could do that a few weeks before our wedding, what would she do after we were married? I don't hate her. I just feel sorry for the guy who marries her next.